It feels like the kind of moment that doesn't creep up on you quietly, but instead crashes through the door, demanding attention, because what's happening right now across the NFL isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about identity, pressure, and the uncomfortable truth that some teams are being exposed right when they thought they were peaking. And the conversation that exploded out of this NFL Live discussion didn't just hint at that reality, it screamed it. You could feel it in the tone, in the pauses, in the way the analysts almost hesitated before saying certain things out loud, because once you say them, you can't take them back. The league is shifting right in front of our eyes, and some teams are realizing far too late that what they believed was stability was actually a house of cards. This isn't just about one bad game or one bad matchup. This is about pressure revealing truth. It's about contenders suddenly looking fragile. It's about quarterbacks being forced to answer questions they've been protected from for months. And it's about defenses stepping into the spotlight and saying, "We're not here to survive. We're here to break you." That's the energy that poured out of this conversation, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Because what was really being discussed wasn't just strategy or matchups. It was the brutal reality of the NFL season reaching the point where excuses die and reputations are either cemented or shattered. And that's exactly why this moment matters. Because the NFL Live panel didn't just recap games, they exposed fault lines. They exposed pressure points. They exposed the uncomfortable truth that some teams who looked untouchable early are now hanging on by threads, while others, quieter and more disciplined, are turning into legitimate threats. This is the kind of stretch where seasons end, legacies shift, and narratives flip overnight. And if you're watching closely, you can feel that shift happening right now. So before we go any further, if you're locked in on this kind of breakdown, if you want to stay ahead of where this season is really going, make sure you subscribe and drop a like, because this is where the real story lives, beneath the surface, beneath the box scores, in the tension that's finally boiling over. The entire conversation kicked off with urgency, with that sense that every game now carries playoff weight, and it immediately centered on teams that were supposed to be safe but suddenly aren't. The Detroit Lions became the perfect example of how quickly confidence can evaporate. What we saw against Minnesota wasn't just a bad outing, it was a collapse that exposed structural issues. Jared Goff looked rattled, overwhelmed, and out of rhythm, and the more pressure he faced, the more everything unraveled. The Vikings didn't need to be explosive. They didn't need to dominate offensively. They just needed to apply pressure, disguise coverages, and let confusion do the rest. And it worked. Goff looked uncomfortable. The offensive line cracked, turnovers piled up, and suddenly a team that once looked secure was spiraling. 6 turnovers, no takeaways. That's not bad luck. That's a system failing under stress. What made it more jarring was how clearly the analysts identified the root of the problem. This wasn't about effort. It wasn't about heart. It was about protection, about an offensive line that couldn't hold up, about a quarterback who needs structure to thrive, and about a defense that finally got exposed by complexity. The discussion made it clear that Detroit's success was always conditional, built on things going right. And once that stopped happening, the cracks widened fast. Brian Flores's defense didn't just beat them, it outthought them. The disguises, the simulated pressure, the rotating coverages, all of it forced Goff to hesitate. And in this league, hesitation is death. And that theme kept repeating as the conversation moved forward. Because this wasn't just about Detroit. It was about the entire league reaching a point where defensive adaptability is separating contenders from pretenders. When the analysts talked about Minnesota, they weren't talking about star power. They were talking about execution, about discipline, about a defense that understood how to confuse quarterbacks without selling out. That's why the conversation about Brian Flores turned into a broader commentary on coaching value. This was a defense that carried a team even when the offense struggled. And that matters in January. Then the focus shifted, and suddenly, the spotlight was on the chaos brewing across the rest of the league. Green Bay, Baltimore, Denver, New England, Jacksonville, Chicago, San Francisco, all woven into a larger narrative of volatility. Every team had a flaw, and every team was being tested in different ways. Malik Willis stepping in for Jordan Love wasn't treated like a footnote. It was treated like a stress test. Could he manage a game? Could he protect the football? Could he operate within structure? The answer, surprisingly, leaned toward yes, because of coaching, because of system, because of preparation. That theme kept repeating. Structure matters, coaching matters, and when those things are strong, even limitations can be masked. Then there was Denver, a team that refuses to die quietly. A team living on the edge, surviving on late-game heroics, finding ways to win even when the formula feels unsustainable. And that's where the tension really spiked. Because everyone knows that living off comebacks isn't a long-term plan. It's a warning sign. It's adrenaline masking inconsistency. And yet, there they are. Still standing, still relevant, still forcing the league to take them seriously. The analysts didn't sugarcoat it. They questioned whether this could last. They questioned whether Bo Nix could consistently deliver when the defense didn't carry him. But they also acknowledged something undeniable. Resilience counts, and in a flawed AFC, that might be enough to keep you alive. Then came the deeper dive into the quarterback conversations, and this is where the tone sharpened. Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams. Different situations, same pressure. The expectations are massive, and the margin for error is microscopic. The praise for May wasn't casual, it was pointed. His command, his control, his maturity were framed as rare, especially given his age. That matters because it shows what stability looks like in contrast to chaos. And when the conversation shifted to Trevor Lawrence, it was clear the belief in his arm remained strong. But the concerns about balance and run support linger. Talent alone isn't enough. Execution has to follow. And then came the heavyweight themes, the Bears and the 49ers. Old philosophies colliding with new ones. Run games versus creative passing schemes. Coaches adapting or being left behind. This wasn't just X's and O's. It was identity versus evolution. The idea that Chicago is becoming what San Francisco used to be while San Francisco morphs into something more aggressive through the air says everything about how the league is changing. And in the middle of all of that, defenses are still the ultimate equalizer. Which brings everything full circle to the Texans. Because when the conversation turned to Houston, the tone changed. This wasn't curiosity, this was respect. This was acknowledgement. This was recognition that what they're doing isn't a fluke. The Texans' defense isn't just good. It's historically efficient. It doesn't rely on chaos. It creates it. They rush 4, sometimes 3. They don't blitz themselves into vulnerability. They force quarterbacks to make perfect decisions, and very few can. That's why the comparison to legendary units didn't feel exaggerated. That's why the conversation around Justin Herbert felt heavy. Because this isn't about talent anymore. It's about survival. Herbert can make every throw, but can he do it under constant, disciplined pressure? Can he do it without forcing mistakes? History suggests that's where the problems start, and that's what made the discussion so compelling. It wasn't hype, it was diagnosis. The Texans have built something sustainable, something suffocating. And when analysts openly say that a defense can win games even when the offense isn't perfect, that's a warning sign for everyone else. The Chargers may have weapons, they may have flashes of brilliance, but unless they solve the protection problem, unless they find answers against disciplined pressure, they're walking into a storm. The conversation didn't end with certainty. It ended with tension, with questions, with scenarios, with the acknowledgement that the margins are razor thin and the consequences massive. This isn't just about who wins this week. It's about who's built for what comes next. And right now, the teams that look the most dangerous aren't always the ones with the flashiest stars. They're the ones who can break you slowly, methodically, and without mercy. And that's what makes this stretch of the season so compelling. Because the truth is finally coming out, and not everyone is ready for it.